Alright, today we are going to be talking about lists in Python, and lists in Python is something very important and it applies to all programming languages. So today we are going to be looking at topics like how to create a list, assessing values of a list, modifying a list operation, and list functions and methods. So let's just get started, but before I continue, I'd like to remind you to subscribe to my channel. So click on subscribe button below this video so you kind of get updated when I make new lessons, and also you kind of motivate me to continue making these lessons for you because I make them for free and I make them based on requests. So if you have any requests, any challenges, you can just let me know and I'm going to clarify using a video. So just click on the subscribe button and also like the video if it's been informative for you. Alright, so let's get started. So what is a list? A list is simply a collection of items, maybe a list of names, list of numbers, list of scores or something. So let's go ahead to simply create a list. So let's just say names is equal to. Now this is very important because you create a list using this square bracket. So let me create a few names. Second name. Okay, so and then let me just add one more. Let me spoil it by just adding some numbers. Alright, so this is a valid list. You can see that list is made up of collection of items which can be different data types. Like you can see here we have some strings and we have some integers, and I can go ahead to add maybe something like this. Okay, so if I go ahead to print it, I can just say print names and just click on run, and you can see that it prints out everything in the list in this way. Okay, so this is how to create a list. So let's move ahead a little in the tutorial. So this is my website, kindtondegenius.com/python. So just go there, you find this tutorial clearly as it is, because we may not have enough time to cover everything. So you have this tutorial for you. You can just go and use it if you want. Alright, so for you to access different elements in a list, you use the index of the element. So for instance, we have Kindton is in this list, Kindton, Oli, Saf, 56, 98, and E. So this element have an index of 0. The second element have an index of 1, and so on. So if I say name 0, it means what is going to print out is just the first item. The same way, if I say name 1, what is going to print out is the second item. What if I say name 2? You guessed right, this is going to be printed out name 3, name 4, name 5. Now one thing I want to let you know is you can also say name -1. What do you think is going to be printed out? What is going to be printed out is E, because a negative number indicates the extreme or the right hand side of the list. So more like you are starting from the extreme end of the list and you are counting backwards. The same way, if I say name -2, is going to say take the second item from the right, and this is going to give us 98. And the same if I say this is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5 is going to print out Oli. So that is how the negative items or the negative indexes work in an array or in a list. Now remember, Python does not actually use an array, it uses lists. So anytime you hear of lists, think of it like an array in other programming languages. Alright, let's now look at modifying a list. How do you modify a list? You modify a list in 3 different ways. Either you add new items, you delete an item, or you modify existing item. Let's start with adding new items to this list. So let's add a new item before we print. So let me add an item. You can just say names.append. So you can add what you want to add. Let's say let's just add Python. Okay, no, it doesn't really relate to what is already there. So if I print out names again, you can see that Python has been added to the list. So you can always add append by using the append method. So this is called the append method. So let's go again. Now I added 5 and you can see it's right there. The next thing is how to delete an item from a list. How do you delete an item? You use the remove method. So let's take, for instance, we want to remove the first item in the list. So you can simply say names.remove and you specify what you want to remove. So if I run this, so this is remove. Alright, if I run it, it's going to actually remove this item from the list and then print out whatever is left. So you can see that the first item has been removed from the list. Alright, so then we also have modify. So let's say we want to modify this name from Kyneton. We want to say Kyneton the Genius, because that's the name of my channel. So you can simply say names. Now you need to access the value first. Name 0 is equal to, let's say, Kyneton the Genius. Alright. So if I go ahead to run it, you can see that it now changes it to something else, to Kyneton the Genius. So this is how to modify. So we've talked about modify, we've talked about adding new items, and we've talked about deleting the item. So let's talk about a different way to delete. Let's say we want to delete, we can also use del, and then we delete names 0. So this is also going to delete the first item. It's the same as names.remove and you specify what you want to remove. So here you can see it takes out the element. So we have list operations, simple list operations like finding the number of elements, number of items in a list, and that you can do using the len. The len is a method, or is a function here, to return the number of elements in the list. So len names is going to give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 items in the list is going to return 6. Remember, len gives the number of items in the list. Now if you say names plus names, now what is going to be printed out is going to expand this list and form a larger list made up of, let's take out the len, right. It's going to create 2 of these lists and then join them together. So let's see. So you can see Kyneton Olisa 5698 Kyneton Olisa 5698E. So plus actually combines the list into a bigger list of items. So let me just say something else. You can also add new items into the list by saying, let's say we want to add AB. Let's say A and B. So if I run this, it's going to actually add it at the end of the list, so you can see right there. So it's more like you are appending new items to the list, but actually this is called concatenation operation. We are adding new items in a list by using the plus sign. We can also multiply a list. For instance, let me say we have this list. I want to make it shorter so that we will be able to see. You can multiply this list using the repetition operator, so you can multiply it by 2. What is going to happen is going to multiply it by 2 by creating this list into 2 places and combining it together. So let's just go ahead to run it. You can see Kyneton, it multiplied it by 2. In the same way, you can multiply it by 3 and it's going to make it into 3 places. So that is basically how it works. So we have the membership. If we want to check if an item is in a list, you can say, let's say only in names. So this is more like it's only in names. It's going to return true because it only is in names. But if I say in names, so it's going to return false because it's not there. Again, if you want to print out all the items in a list, you can use the for loop. So let me just show you how it works. So to do that, you simply say for item in how do I write it again? I think I kind of forgot. For I in range from 0 to, let's say from 0 to 3, Now I'm going to say print names I. So at this point it's going to print out every item in the list. Let's see if it works. So you can see it prints them out. So it says from I in range 0, 1, 2. So take note that 3 is not inclusive. So it prints out 0, 1, 2. It doesn't get up to the weight of the last one. So the last item in a range is not inclusive. Keep that in your mind. The last item in a range is not inclusive. Alright, so we've talked about printing. Let's now talk about slicing. Slicing a list means getting a subset of a sublist from that list. So let's take, for instance, we have these items. So now, assuming I want to extract just the first 3 items, what do I do? If I want to extract the first 3 items, I'll simply use the slicing symbol or the slicing operator. So what I'm going to do that, I can just say names and I specify from 0. Now you use this to specify the ending point you want to extract. So from 0 to 2 is going to return the first 3 items in the list, right? So that is how to slice a list. So you can see 0, 1, and this is not inclusive. So if I actually wanted to return 3 items, I could say from 0 to 3. So now it returns 56, 45, and 77. So that is about slicing. Right, let's just go a bit down. So we've talked about negative index. So if I specify name of -1, I've mentioned it before, it's going to return the last item in the list because it tends to be using a negative index to refer to the rightmost item at the extreme of the list. Alright, let's look at, okay, one more thing I would like to let you know. So now if we start from 0 and we fail to specify anything to be the ending, so it starts from 0 but you fail to specify the last item, it's actually going to take all the way to the end of the list. So at this point it's going to print out anything, everything. So if also I fail to specify the first item in the list and I specify the last one, the last index is going to actually start from 0. So those are the things you want to know. If you fail to specify the first index in the slice, it's going to start from 0. If you fail to specify the last index in the slice, it's going to take all the way to the end of the list. Alright, so let's look at a few things in this list. So let's try max, min, max and min, because those are the ones we can quickly do. So these are functions, meaning that you can just say max of names, and then it's going to give us a maximum item in the list, 77, and the same min of names is going to give us a minimum item in the list. So now you can actually compare 2 lists using the compare function. So let's try to see. So let's say we have names. Okay, so this requires another library. Okay, okay. Let's keep this for later. Let's finish with what we are working on. So we have lists. Sequence converts a tuple to a list. I think this will make more sense when we talk about tuples, and that we'll do in the next lesson. So we also have list methods. We have list.append, list.count. So let's say we have 45 in this list. We want to count how many times 45 appears. So we have names.count, and then we want to count 45. And this time is going to return 2 because 45 appears 2 times. And so on and so forth. So you have list.insert. You want to insert a new item into a list, and list.pop removes and returns the last object from a list, names.pop. So it's going to return 12 because that is the last object in the list. List.removes removes an item from the list. So one thing that can help you is take your time to do this yourself. So I have this page open for you. So just visit it. It's in the description box of this video. python.genius.com/python, and you get to this place and you can play around with all of these. So we have compare list 1, list 2. So I think the compare function, let's see, names.compare, let's see, dot compare, it doesn't, okay, cmp, okay, so we don't have it. Now I'm going to explain this in the next video because we need to import a different library that can work with the compare object. So we are going to do this in the next video because we are still talking about lists, but this time we are going to look at tuples, a different kind of list as it were, we use in Python. So I'm going to thank you for viewing. I would also like to remind you to subscribe and also share this video with your friends and like it, give a thumbs up if it's been informative for you, and we'll see you in the next lesson.